I have an Efnote drum kit to unbox, I have hay fever, and I have questions from you. So let's do a double whammy and answer questions while we unbox a very exciting drum kit.
Triple whammy with you sneezing every 10 seconds.
Yes. With
Yes.
sneezes featuring sneezes and sniffs. Okay. Question number 1. What do we got?
Hi Emma, just curious what sticks and cymbals you use.
In terms of size, I play 5As most of the time. If I'm playing a gig with a loner, who is right here,
Hello.
I usually use 5Bs because I need to get a bit more oomph out of them. And then if I'm playing a lighter gig, if I'm playing in a tent and no one's really that amplified, probably 7A. And if there is a gun to my head, I will play with hot rods, but don't make me do that. I don't want to do that. So that's my general setup. If you want to make your arms feel like they're falling off, then hold 2Bs and play with 2Bs, but I don't suggest it. All right, bass drum. So.
Oh, it's a beefy boy.
So it's really exciting because this is a full shell kit. So that means, unlike normal drum kits, you've got, ooh, it's actually big enough to reverberate, which is something that's an issue with normal electric kits. Because the pad, usually this pad is so small, it doesn't really vibrate how you want it to. This could be interesting though, because I can feel there's like kind of a mechanism behind it, so it still might bounce more than a normal bass drum. We shall find out. That's what we're here for.
There's a lot of boxes. Do you get to drum full time, or do you have a non-drumming related full-time gig?
No, I drum full time, I guess.
You lucky soul.
I know, I'm so good. Yeah, I the last proper job I had was working at a cafe, and that was, I remember leaving kind of like after lockdown because I needed to do this full time basically. But currently this isn't fully what pays the bills, quote unquote. I still do freelance kind of like drumming gigs, so like function gigs and gigs with artists and teaching. Oh yes, kind of teaching and making videos is kind of like this, so I class them as the same thing, but yeah. So there's a bit of everything. But yes, drumming is the full-time gig, which is fun. They're real drums, Elena. Real drums!
They look really nice.
They do. What do we got? That is a mount for, I think, ooh. Look at this. Now this means business. Look at that. Oh my God. If you're a touring, recording drummer, this is what you want.
That is a bit sexy, I have to say.
Quote, that's a bit sexy.
That's a bit sexy.
So we've got literally every output you could ever want, ever. And input you could ever want, ever. Most of this, I don't know what most of this means, to be honest. This is out of my league. We shall get more into this once I understand it better in said review. But initial thoughts, Alona says it's sexy. I think it looks cool. We've agreed. Wires and cables and phone holders. Next question.
How do you store your tuning key when travelling? I always seem to lose mine. Keys!
Does she have a carabiner? Yes. Yes, she does. Okay, that is Spaghetti Junction. Currently, not Spaghetti Junction because they're all very nicely cable tied and I'm afraid to even touch them so I don't tangle them up. This is so bad.
Do you want another question? Sneeze break.
No.
Are there any rites of passage to being a drummer? I've been playing for 2 years, no gigs, no bands. I still struggle to call myself a drummer.
Ooh. I mean, I would say playing with a band is a kind of experience in and of itself, and it's definitely worth working towards because it is just so much fun. It can be if you get the right band. And I'd say the musicality you gain from being in a band is invaluable. There isn't a rule book.
There isn't a right answer.
No.
Can you play the drums? Can you hit them and it sound good?
Exactly.
You're a drummer. Congratulations.
Yes. Well done. You can hit that thing in time. You're a drummer. But I think some people will go, oh, I'm not getting paid for it, and therefore...
Well, I guess if your definition is I'm not a drummer unless I'm a professional drummer, well then there's lots of people...
I see that, yeah.
Yeah, you know,
almost everyone on the planet
that's pretty much
isn't
exactly.
a drummer. So.
And even then, a lot of people who are professional musicians, like professional musicians, you know, it doesn't, the reason I do air quotes is because the amount of people that I know who do music and then also work an office job.
Yeah.
You know, full time. Like, it doesn't pay really the way that people think that it does. And you have to do what you have to do to pay the bills. So don't beat yourself up if you're not, you know, on stage selling out arenas.
Yeah.
With your drumming or whatever other instrument that you play. That doesn't mean that you're any less valid as a musician.
Alona's giving better answers than I am here, lads. I'm
You're
concentrating on unboxing
You're just
it.
on a different path.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Exactly.
You're doing great, sweetie. Inside.
But just one more thing before this microphone dies and we move on to another one. In terms of the quality of these stands, they're pretty good. Honestly, they're feeling pretty good. I suspect if you were going on a world tour, you'd probably change it out because my hardware that I use is heavier than this and it is chunkier than this. It would definitely do the job. It's not going anywhere.
It looks very strong.
Yes, and also it's got these really cool things on them so you can put the cables in there.
That's so useful.
I know.
What inspired you to start drumming?
I don't actually fully remember because I was about probably 5. Maybe when my grandparents got me like a toy drum kit, like one of those like diddy things, and I played it so much that it turned into like tape instead of having plastic drum heads. And I don't remember how long we had it for. So that was about then. There was never a specific drummer who did it for me. I just started playing drums and I liked playing drums. Then I got my first snare drum when I was about 7. And so I just kept going, essentially. And then at school, the music teacher kind of started picking up on my musicality, big up Miss Murphy. And then I remember playing the hi-hat a lot at school because we had this ropey drum kit at school. And yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there and we started playing music at school and I got into a band at school. And then I ended up playing drums for everything because I was one of the only people who could play drums. And then I started lessons when I was like 9 and it just kept going, really. And now we're here unboxing an Efnote Pro kit, which is exciting. Funny, innit? Funny old world. This is a proper size snare drum, so this is 14 inches. Blimey, what a chonker. Massive. Basically a real snare drum with some electronics in it. The wrapping on the drums isn't like crazy impressive or anything like that because I think most of the budget is on the tech inside the drum kit. So we've just got kind of silver sparkly, but that still looks pretty good. So awesome. I'm excited. I'm really interested to hear how it actually responds. So on the side here, this is the same with the 3X that you've probably seen in other videos. There's this little bit here where you get your kind of cross stick rim click sound from down here, instead of other kits where you just hit kind of the edge. I'm not sure why they've chosen to do it this way. Maybe it just responds better, and maybe then your rim shots are more rim shotty and they are specifically designed for being hit here and then you just get them over here. I'm not sure why they've done that, but let's see how good it is once we set it up. Next up, floor tom, 15-inch floor tom.
Have you planned on buying a double bass pedal?
I actually have a double bass drum pedal, and I never use it because I started playing with double kick for a little while and just didn't get along with it. Most of what I listen to isn't really that heavy either. I think the only reason I would start to learn how to do it is just from sheer technical ability and being able to say I can do it. I've been kind of wanting to just because I want to teach lessons on it and show people cool stuff, but I haven't learnt it myself, so it's a bit like, can't really teach it. So I'm thinking of hopefully getting someone who knows about metal and double pedal playing and stuff like that on the channel so we can actually chat about it and I can ask relevant questions instead of me having to put in a load of legwork trying to learn how to play double kick from scratch. So stay tuned for that. It will come eventually.
Do you speak French?
Has someone seen my post to my story about my my Duolingo streak? Hang on.
Do you know French words? Yes. Do you speak French?
Do I speak
That's a
French?
different
Do
question.
I speak French? Do you think a woman who has a 602 Duolingo day streak would not speak French? Yeah, I don't speak French. 15-inch! Lord Tom. Massive. Actually got 2 heads as well. I'm interested to know why they've bothered putting the bottom head on it. What's that going to achieve? I don't know. Is it just for looks? Maybe. I don't think that's going to affect the drum at all. Who knows? Je ne sais pas. French. French. I apologise for the lack of beauty shots and the fact that we've got quite a closed-in angle here because we're in a small room. It's very warm right now.
Who are your favourite drummers, technically and performance-wise?
I get asked this question all the time, and I think I'm a bit weird because I don't have a specific favourite drummer. I can watch drummers and go, oh wow, that's amazing. But there aren't any specific that like live in my heart, like, oh my god, they're my favourite. I actually prefer vocalists over drummers. Ooh, controversial opinion. But if I had to pick, I'd say some that I resonate with are kind of Steve Gadd, Ian Pace, Deep Purple, and yeah, there's nothing. No one really jumps out. Good drummers are good drummers.
Emma's favourite drummer is Emma.
Emma's favourite drummer is Emma.
Have you ever played in a percussion in an orchestra?
Yes, briefly. It was a brief career in orchestral percussion because when I was doing my music lessons, it was like a primary school during the week and then a music school at the weekends on Saturdays. And so because I just happened to be the drummer who was about the most, I ended up in a jazz band, an orchestra, a rock band, Latin percussion, and all sorts of stuff, which was fantastic because it meant I learned a whole lot of different styles and learned how to perform and be in those different scenarios. But orchestra, I took one look at a piece of paper that said 54 bars rest. Career over. Not the one. I did actually once play in a brass band, like big band, brass band competition, and that was an equal just, it was just a bit, just not for me. I like playing too much. Not my cup of tea, could be your cup of tea. I don't know.
Playing Shrek the Musical.
Me?
Yeah.
I
have a memory that this was a thing. And I didn't get to come and see it, and I was very sad.
In terms of theatre, I have only done like amateur dramatics. So I have actually played Shrek for an amateur production.
Yes!
The shows I've played, I started at school with Grease, which was fun, and I had a great time because that's mostly rock and roll tunes, so that's dead simple, loads of fun. Then we did like Little Shop of Horrors, and then we started to get into the orchestral stuff again, so I was just a bit, especially as I was the only percussion player, and when you're trying to play Les Mis with me, a snare drum and a triangle, it's not really gonna go. You wouldn't call that. I don't know if that's theatre or if that's survival. I don't know what that is. But Jesus Christ Superstar, that was really fun. That was really good. But I've stopped doing theatre now because it's just a bit. Shrek did it for me. I think that was the one that did me in. Half a Sixpence might have done me, and that was amateur production of Half a Sixpence. Ooh. Ooh. Props to him, but woof. Yes, it is interesting that they've gone for full body shells, and I think the reason they've done this is because I'm pretty sure this is more for touring musicians, and you want your drum kit to look like a drum kit. I don't know who's touring at the moment with. It's kind of like that hybrid, kind of between electric and acoustic.
Why don't you shoot advanced technique videos?
Ooh.
Usually you make beginner techniques videos.
Two reasons. Mostly because most of the audience is beginners, and so I want to help as many people as possible, and most people are beginners. The actual more real answer is that it's easier to write beginner and intermediate videos. And so it's kind of a double whammy of like, well, do I do a really niche technique video that's really advanced, or do I do a whole bunch of technique where I know what I'm talking about and can get it done like that, and it can benefit loads of people in as short a space amount of time as possible. So it's kind of that. And if there are any specific advanced techniques that you want to know about, let me know, because I might not even be able to play them. So it's an excuse to do them, quite frankly. Traditional grip is one of those. I don't play the traditional grip. And I'm probably not the gal to come to if you want to learn how to do that. But I'd be interested actually in bringing someone on the channel who can play traditional grip and to see if I can figure out what I'm doing wrong, because I've tried it and it's just not gone down well. So hopefully we can bring that on the channel as well. Keep your eyes peeled. And if you're not subscribed, by the way, what? You know what? You, the person who is not subscribed, are making me sneeze. You're giving me hay fever. So can you not? I'll know if you haven't subscribed because I'll keep sneezing through this video. I can feel it. I can feel it. You haven't done it. I can feel it. Are you hovering over the button? I see it. I feel it in my waters. Okay, good. Right, we can carry on. I'm glad. Yeah, cool. What I've just unboxed here is the 14-inch hi-hat cymbal, and this is, I think, exactly the same as the one on the 3X kit, which is the one you'll normally see on this channel. And it consists of a censored, padded, rubbery top hi-hat and then just plain old plastic bottom hat. The cymbals, especially on these Efnote kits, I very, very much do like. So I'm interested to see how this might differ from the 3X and if there's anything special about it. So we've got hi-hat, floor tom, snare drum. Currently I think that's a high tom, not a mid tom. Let's go for, oh, I think this kit might have 2 floor toms and 1 high tom. So we've got a 2 down, 1 up. Ooh! Woo! Contain your excitement, I see you. Sit down if you're not sat down. I know it's getting a bit much, I know. I think a lot of this is going to be cymbals. Interesting. Look, they've standard cymbal 18, dark. Ha. Let's discover. Literally dark compared to the other cymbals. Ooh. 18-inch crash. Normally with cymbals, if you're already a drummer, you know this, cymbals can be bright, dark, or somewhere in between. But for an electric kit, it's kind of,
That's interesting.
it's interesting, and I'm interested to know what this even means. If it's purely aesthetic.
How do you get into a band? Get drunk with friends at university.
That is one way of
Wait
doing
until
it.
they're in a desperate need for a drummer, because everyone is in a desperate
In all
need for a drummer at
fairness,
times.
almost everyone is desperate for a drummer. The way I'd probably approach it now, if I was learning drums now, is to just go to whatever local jam nights there are, because you're going to meet other musicians who are probably in a similar position to you. It gives you some playing experience without the pressure of being in a band and committing to it as well. So it's just a kind of a good thing to do all round. If you're in an area that doesn't really have that, if you're out in the sticks, it might be trickier. Social media is your friend. Maybe local Facebook groups. Go old school. Go Facebook. Probably your best route. Potentially Instagram, maybe. Just directly message people. Who knows? But start talking to people. That's the best thing you can do, and see what's happening.
I feel like the meme that every drummer is in about 5 bands is so accurate.
I'm in, hang on, one. It's you, Bryony, Ariel, function band, 5. Yes. So you're right. Let's have a look at this 18-inch China, yeah, electronic China cymbal. Ooh! This was the thing I was excited about, because with the 3X, you just get your standard 2 crashes, ride cymbal, hi-hats. Whereas, with these kits, you get Chinas. Oh! I'm really interested to see if it's purely aesthetic, or if there is a difference in how they kind of play. I'm not sure. But it probably will respond slightly differently. It might be weighted kind of differently as well, to respond in a more accurate way. I don't know. This is a 20-inch ride cymbal. If I didn't mention earlier, the bass drum is also 20 inches, so this is as big as the bass drum. Very nice. Very nice. It's nice to see, again, electronic cymbals that are the right size. It kind of helps sell it a little bit for me. As a drummer, if you're a kit that's kind of mimicking things visually more accurately, I think it does just make it a bit more convincing an experience. So that's cool, very nice, massive, and quite heavy actually. Oof. Oh god, this is the heavy one. Stand! Ah!
How do you get better at drums when you're also a university student? How do you juggle it all? I guess for you, you kind of cheated because you studied drums.
I mean, that would be the workaround, is to just go to uni for drums. No.
And then practicing drums is technically homework.
Yeah. No, I'd say not being too hard on yourself is the big one, because it's about what do you want to prioritise, really. At the end of the day, if you're getting your degree, the degree is kind of the priority. But you don't have to practice hours and hours every day. It's more about maintaining the habit of doing 5 to 15 minutes a day, right? And if you're vigilant with what you're practicing, then you will still see improvements, and hopefully you'll still scratch the itch of playing. So just keep going. It doesn't matter if it's less than you might have done perhaps at home or before you went to uni, but just keep going. Don't let it drop off, because that's the place where you start to kind of lose kind of hope with it a little bit, because you don't see improvement. You see perhaps yourself getting a bit worse. So yeah, just keep playing, even if it's a little bit every day. That is my answer.
Is there a good rule of thumb for how much to vary fills in a song?
Varying fills. It probably doesn't matter as long as you're stylistically appropriate. And if you don't know what stylistically appropriate means, it just means, does it fit within the style you're playing? So for example, if you're playing a slow 80s ballad, for example, you don't want to then go and do gospel chops all over it, you know. It just doesn't make sense, right? So doing things tastefully, yes, you can vary things up. So you can either stick to the same rhythm, same sticking, and just place it differently around the kit, or, I don't know, just make it slightly more embellished. Put a drag before the fill, but you know, it depends on what the song calls for and what the band calls for, because if you're in a band where it's like you are playing the part, if you're playing a theatre gig and not Amdram, you're like doing a proper gig, you'd know this already, but if they want you to play what is on the sheet, then you play what's on the sheet. But drumming is the blagging instrument, so we make it up. And that's what I mean, is you're learning stylistic appropriateness over getting things specifically note for note, unless that's what you want to do. Okay, stands. So in here we have a snare stand, a tom mount, because there is only one tom. We're going 1 up, 2 down. Very nice. I don't think there's anything particularly crazy or outstanding about said tom mount, but it does look solid. It looks like it will do what it's supposed to do, and we shall discover that as we build the kit. So thanks for your help, Alona. Thanks.
Unboxing the kit. What are the best ways to improve as a beginner after knowing some basics?
That is a very ambiguous question, because we all have different definitions of what basics are. What is most likely the answer is you've got you're playing basic grooves, you're playing basic fills, you can play kind of in time, you might be able to read a little bit. The kind of step up from that is getting dynamics sounding good. So being able to play ghost notes, which is a really quiet tap, and then accents in your grooves. Dynamic variation is the one that is something that really helps you kind of sound more professional and sound like you know what you're doing, because you sound like you have more control. I think I've done loads of videos on exercises to improve that. I can't think of a specific one right now though, which is really helpful, I'm sure. But yes, dynamics is probably the one that's going to just elevate your playing that little extra bit more.
How do you balance the left hand as you prefer the right hand for a right hand performer?
What you do is you check out my free ebook called The Equalizer, which is all about sorting out your left hand, because that's what I did over kind of lockdown, and I wrote a book about it. What I did to train my left hand was, first of all, compare it to the right and see what's going wrong, essentially, what's different between the two, because I was happy with where my right hand was at. So it's kind of a case of copy and pasting. Unfortunately, it's not quite as quick as copy and paste, but hitting a note at the same time and seeing how the grip differs, what is going on that's different between the left and fundamentally. And then it's just kind of getting some stamina training in the left, and what I did for that, again, it's all in the equalizer, and if you want a course, it's Left Hand Boot Camp. Playing 8th notes in the right hand, 16th note ghost notes in the left, and then putting whatever bass drum pattern and turning it into a groove, because you can put an accent on 2 and 4 as well. So that's what I personally did. That's what I'd suggest to probably intermediate to more advanced drummers, opposed to very, very beginners. For beginners, it's just a case of doing that copy and paste between the right and the left and just trying to make sure that they're responding in vaguely the same way.
What would you love to do in your life if you weren't a musician?
Oh God.
We're getting deep now.
Oh God. Genuinely, I don't know. There was never a second option to me.
You make plan A work.
You make plan A work. I might have discovered that I was a good teacher. I think I would have ended up in the spiritual realm doing some counselling / other thing. Or just after we went to uni, I had a bit of a wibble and I was a bit like, I don't want to do this. And so I started looking into doing architecture as well.
What?
I know.
That's so left
I started doing like drawings and stuff. I'll show you some of them, but I wouldn't have. The thing was, I wouldn't have got properly into it because that would have required engineering, and I just like drawing pretty things. So maybe I would have been arty instead. I don't know, or an actor maybe. I don't think I have the. I mean, I think I have the riz, but I can't remember words. So improv actor. But yeah, I think there's no way I wouldn't have been in the arts somehow. So yeah, probably something like that, or designing buildings. I don't know. It wasn't a very long fad, just to clarify.
How long did it take you to get through that?
Ooh. You lot are really good with ambiguous questions, aren't you?
Are you there yet? Who knows?
Am I there yet? I think that's the eternal question, isn't it? Am I there yet? So when did I get that good at drums? I'd say it actually happened at uni, that it gave me a round education in everything. So it kind of touches all bases in terms of coordination and stylistic awareness and playing in bands and everything else you're kind of gonna want to know just about. There's definitely some kind of missing spaces. So in terms of tuning and hardware awareness, we touched on it but didn't really go in depth about it at uni. But like that rounded me out as a player, so that kind of just took me to the level where I felt confident being a professional and getting paid for what I do. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to uni to do that. I know obviously people who didn't do that, but for me it just made me feel like I knew what I was doing more so, because you also get exposed to tutors who are already doing it, but if you've got a good drum tutor, that could be that for you as well. So it's kind of whatever works for you really. Because I was so young, it worked for me to go to uni for it, but if you're older and you're just getting into it, you can find yourself a really good drum tutor and get in a good band, and that's enough for you. So, and also it helped my reading, because I was still reading rhythms like Coca-Cola, coffee, tea, like still using kind of phonetics like that, and it's nothing wrong with that, but like it sorted out my being able to listen to a rhythm and go 1E, a 2, a 3 and a 4E and a kind of stuff, which now obviously if you've seen the videos is quite helpful. Otherwise I'd still be going all that stuff. I'm running out of space. I need to put this here.
You've actually run out of questions, bar one that you've been asked many, many times.
Oh goody, what is it?
Are you single? You'll never know.
You'll never know.
You get that question so much.
So that's cymbal stand number 3. I think we got 4. A travesty has occurred. I forgot there would be no hi-hat stand, but worry not, I will find one for the review. This is all good. I'm not sure if they actually normally come with hi-hat stands or not. The reason for that being, people can be a bit finicky about specific things. That's why kits like this normally don't come with bass drum pedals and such, because it's more of a like personal taste kind of thing.
What is the best way to increase speed without losing it completely?
It's a really annoying answer, but it's good technique. Yeah, she said a more in-depth answer, the way I think about getting things fast is I put little anchors in what I'm playing. So for example, if you take really fast single strokes, that, right? It's really easy to get lost, especially if your technique isn't very good, because you'll get lopsided probably with the left. It turns into that. But let's say that's all good. I'd put an anchor in my own brain, and I'd probably accent like the first of each group of 4. So like, it just means that you've got something to kind of hold on to while you're going through like that. If I did just that without the accent, still just about do it, but it's not as kind of secure. So that's what I do. When it comes to playing faster grooves, probably the same thing. Again, good technique is a given, otherwise it's all going to fall apart, but then kind of having things that you're holding on to and simplifying when you need to. If you're playing a whole song that's like 16th notes on the hi-hat, you know, just open the hi-hat a little bit, make it trashy and extend out that note and play 8th notes instead for a little bit, just to kind of make sure you've got the stamina for it, essentially. So that's kind of how I'd approach that, if that's, hopefully that helps.
Why is it called bragging?
So in terms of feel, there's different ways you can think about feel. You've probably heard it talked about all the time in drums. It's how something feels, quite literally, and the more obvious answer to what that is straight and swung, right? They feel very different. Whereas if you're rushing or you're dragging, you're still technically in time with the pulse. Imagine this is like the metronome click is right here. If you're rushing, you're kind of falling just about here, and if you're dragging, you're just behind here. So they have their own unique feel. So I think John Bonham was known for dragging, for example, whereas maybe someone who's kind of more punk rocky stuff often kind of is ahead of the beat because it feels more energetic and like, oh my god, we're pushing the note. I actually play, I think, quite pushy myself. Whereas people who are more laid back, you hear this especially in blues and stuff. I watched Joe Bonamassa play a set the other day and oh my god, it was so perfect. It was so perfectly behind the beat. And those two things create different feels, and they're both quite useful to be able to do. I often just aim for the middle, personally. There's nothing specific I'm going for, but you can actually train yourself to go either side as well. I haven't dived into that so much yet, and that's something, talking about advanced techniques, I'd probably start to dip into myself if I was to go and talk about it. Hopefully that answers that question. I'm trapped, Alona. I'm trapped. I'm stuck.
We'll never leave.
The last box. Last floor tom. This is going to be a 13-inch, so it's going to be smaller than this one. Now, if you're a true fan and saw my other YouTube channel where I've done a band vlog all the way back in a dim and distant, where I talk about basically the worst drum kit I've ever played on ever. What I'm going to show you here is what was wrong with it. There were many things wrong with it.
Being held together by duct tape.
And a prayer, basically. So one of the other things that they did was, probably because both heads were absolutely shot, was that instead of having the drum up this way, and this is actually quite a common mistake, which is why I'm talking about it right now. So it should be this way. So you've got the tall bit, and the leg is at the bottom, like so. Whereas the other one, it was this way up, and the legs were like this. And so you can't have it above this height. So it will be this tall. And that's all you can do. So don't do that. I think that's probably a mistake that some people will make, to be honest. So that's why I'm mentioning it. Anyway, let's put the legs in this, and then let's put the cymbals on the stands. And while we're doing that, we can answer some more questions.
Why is an inverted double called inverted?
Doubles, right, left, left. Normal doubles are that. Inverted doubles are right, left, right.
Why does it matter?
Because they create completely different sounds. If you're hitting the same drum, probably won't have as much difference, but even then they still sound different because of the technique I personally use to get them. Sod it, let's demonstrate it. So, normal doubles, right, left, left. Inverted doubles, right, left, right, you get more of a like, you get like, that's me. That's probably poor technique, actually. Can you hear the difference? Probably not. Drummer's mic. The 6-stroke rolls I always talk about all the time. Right, left, left, right, right, left. I'm pretty sure if you actually did it correctly, it would be a paradiddle-diddle, but left-hand led. An inverted left-hand led paradiddle-diddle. Yeah. Basically, the reason we invert things is because it just makes sticking patterns that we already know and have in our heads more interesting, essentially. It just stretches what you can do with it way further. So that's a really wordy answer to that simple question.
Why are you so gorgeous and amazing?
You know what?
Fantastic?
It's a trial. It's a weight that I do bear upon my shoulders. It's tough. It's tough.
What's the phrase? God gives his strongest battles. No, his hardest battles. God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers.
You know what? I relate. I relate. So let's put this drum kit together. Ooh, bass drums over there. I'm interested as to why with this kit they've got everything as separate, more traditional stands, because with my X3X you get the cymbal stand that is also attached to the tom mounts. So even for the floor toms, they're all off the floor, whereas with this they're all separate entities. So I wonder why they've done that. I think that's probably because, again, this is probably more for a touring context, and so it's just easier to deal with traditional stands for that reason. So fun fact, if you don't know about setting up bass drums, most of the time, if they're any good, they will come with the option of having a little spiky spoon out here, or you can actually lock it into place. So you don't have to have a spike coming out the bottom, but if you're on something like carpet and you want it to actually grip in, that's what you want. Also, you have the option of extending these out too, but I don't think I need that. So, ooh, she branded. Ooh. I'm wondering actually if the tuning of this will affect anything whatsoever. I feel like this video is going to be half a century long. So, this is vaguely set up. We are lacking, unfortunately, a hi-hat stand. That's on me. Ooh. So the one step that you're going to have to go through with an electric kit that you won't have to bother with an acoustic is plugging everything in. So let's get on with that, because that's kind of all that's left to do. I'm going to have to conquer this thing down here. I suspect it won't be too good. So for cymbals, as you can see, we've got two inputs under here, and under here you can actually see, so we've got edge and the cut. Cut is probably more like the actual bell. So both of them, yeah, you can have two inputs. I wonder if we've got cables for both, but that just means you get a varied sound. For the China, we've got just a doling input like that, and right cymbal, yeah, same story. Hello. Two inputs just under here. So cymbals are pretty straightforward, and the drums are obviously pretty straightforward. There's probably, there it is, just in the side, like that. Bass drum, I'm not sure where it is, but we shall discover it. The major challenge with electric kits is just not getting all the cables tangled up. So we're going to rejoin once I have plugged in everything and hopefully not be in a massive knot. See you in a minute. And there we have it. The wires are in. It is on. The module is on. I haven't tried anything yet. I'm going to save that for having first impressions. I reckon I'm going to do a video on my first initial thoughts, and then I will have a bit more time with it and get a proper review out to you guys, and I'll let you know what I think, because already looking at the quality of everything and how it just sounds and feels, I'll give you a little tidbit now. The fact that that bass drum actually resonates, that makes me very, very happy. I'm also interested to see how the two separate input cables for this, like the separate cymbals, will work and how they'll sound. I want to get into it. But I'm not going to. Not yet. Not before I have a hi-hat. I'm going to be a purist about it. I'm not going to do it. But yes, I will see you in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if you have any other questions that you'd like answered in a separate Q&A, let me know. Other than that, subscribe, because it does help me out an awful lot. Like and comment, because again, it helps me out an awful lot. Hope you have a great day. See you in the next video. Big love. Mwah. The audio on this is going to be so bad. Ugh. Thanks, countryside.